Good evening.
Welcome to another edition of the Naveh News Network, a subsidiary of the Hebrewnistic News Corporation. In the headlines today, we have the 3 C's. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Carter, Mr. Castro, and of course, Cuba. We are witnessing a momentous occasion in the ever-hostile relationship between the U.S. and Cuba. Could this, now, today, be perhaps the start of a period of easing tensions between these two nations? A little détente, perhaps? Only time will tell. Wait a minute. We have just received word of new developments in this late-breaking story. It seems that Castro and Carter have just sat down to discuss the U.S. accusation that Cuba has been manufacturing biological weapons to sell to terrorist factions around the world. We take you live now to Havana, where this epic showdown is now taking place.
We're live at Fidel Castro's presidential mansion in Havana, where, at this very moment, the Cuban leader and former U.S. President, Jimmy Carter, are currently sharing a friendly private meal in the mansion's dining area. All news agencies have been denied admission to this momentous occasion, but we, at NNN, have discovered a back entrance. Let's see if we can sneak a glimpse inside and see what's going on in this historic meeting.
Really? James. Can I call you James?
Well, I'm usually not on a first-name basis with communist dictators. So, President Carter's just fine.
Very well. President Carter, do you see any biological weapons? Have you seen any this entire trip? With a degree in nuclear physics, I would assume you know what a nuclear weapon looks like, if one did exist.
Well, I haven't seen hide nor hair of anything on this trip. That Bush administration is always
American pig spies.
Well, that meeting was not the only important event occurring in Cuba today. In response to Carter's call for the Cuban government to adopt more democratic principles, Cuban officials have organized public polls where Cuban citizens can go to voice their thoughts on the topic.
We're live at the polls, where even now, Cuban citizens can be seen casting their vote as to what they believe the future of the Cuban government should be. They've each been given 2 tokens, one red, signifying a communist government, one blue, signifying a democratic government. As you can see behind me, there is evidence of conflicting views on the topic, but at least the Cuban people are finally being given the opportunity to publicly express their opinions.
Mr. Carter's invitation to the island nation of Cuba was prompted by a statement calling for an end to the trade embargo the United States has held over the island nation of Cuba for the past 40 years. It is his belief that by lifting this embargo, it will lead to not only better relations between the United States and Cuba, long-time neighbors for the past million years, but it will also facilitate the improvement of the lifestyle enjoyed by the Cuban people. In many ways, Cuba is like an island. The long-time U.S. embargo has isolated it from what was, before the revolution, its greatest trading partner. It is a lone communist state, lost in a sea of democracy and capitalism. Oh, and of course, it's also an actual island. Commenting on Carter's statement, President Bush questioned how the American people could ever let a man like Carter become the leader of the free world. In response to this comment, Carter referred to Bush as a dumb motherfucker. He also stated that, I quote, "I am rubber and you are glue. Whatever you say to me bounces off of me and sticks to you." He ended the statement by sticking out his tongue and pointing at his rear end. Personally, I found Mr. Carter's words to be very tasteless, dropping the F-bomb was an extremely offensive move, completely unnecessary. There is never a need for such language. Despite his flagrant use of profanity and the immature nature of his statement, the true importance behind Mr. Carter's visit to Cuba should not be forgotten. His visit illustrates to us that the Cuban and U.S. relations need to improve. Perhaps his visit will lead to a long-standing peace and will promote further prosperity amongst both nations. It is possible that I'm wrong in my assumption, but I see this visit as a beacon of light that we can follow to a brighter future. Regardless of the outcome of these events, two things can be easily seen in this episode. One is the assurance that something will change, though I know not what. And the second, this being, I believe, the most important, Mr. Carter's visit has shown us that, above all else, the party must go on.
Wipe out.
Calling for the end of that.
Damn it, Rob.
Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Carter, Mr. Castro, and of course, Cuba. Personally, I found Mr. Carter's words to be very tasteless. God damn it. Good evening, and welcome. I'm Dizzy.
On TV.
Where the Cuban citizens can go to voice their thoughts on the topic.
Were you filming?